Okay, here we are in Star Traders Frontiers. Today we're going to be trying to do two sprint unlocks in the same run. We're going to go for Covert Operative, which is spy 50 times in under 2 years on difficulty hard or greater. And we're going to try and do the Orbital Terror, I think it's called, which is blockade 50 times in under 2 years game time on difficulty hard or higher. If we can do both of these, we'll have unlocked the X-Spy and the Blackheart starting contacts, which will let us on future runs be able to recruit both spies and pirates from the beginning, which can be so useful. I've already built a captain template specifically designed for this series of unlocks. At the top of the priority list, we have contacts, which is kind of funny because we don't really care which contacts we have, but we're putting it at the top of the priority anyways because of the higher influence and reputation that they start with. For ship, we're flying the Scout Cutter. It's the fastest of the automatically unlocked starter ships, and that will cut down time flying from zone to zone, which is the main thing we care about as far as ships are concerned on these sprint unlocks. Our third priority, we have experience. Our job role is spy, obviously. It's going to help us with the spying. Skills and attributes are D&D. They don't really matter at all for this run. Okay, we're going to be playing on the default map, and we're going to be choosing our faction as Retired. That on the default map, Retired only has 4 zones in their starting quadrant, and they're pretty close together, which makes the little bit of mission errand running we need to do to build up our reputation go much faster. And we're playing on Impossible because it has to be harder greater, and you know, why not? Okay, we're picking up the Arbiter. She's going to yap at us. We have to get the Arbiter to get the introduction to Callaghan Fane, which isn't strictly necessary, but can be quite helpful for building up reputation faster. He does offer proving the charter missions, which is we're going to get to in a second. Those are the starter missions that all of your starting contacts will offer in the first 17 weeks of the game. These missions are special because they're often only in the home quadrant. They have no risk associated with them. There's never crew battle. There's never ship battle. You have to talk to Zeta just so we can get to her dad. Here we go. These are the proving your charter missions. They're only offered for the first 17 weeks, but they can be done so quickly with no negative rep and no skill tests to pass. So we're just going to go to all of our starting contacts, and we're going to start piling them up as quickly as possible. Preferentially, we're going to take the ones that are the 10 and 12 AU in this little cluster of 3 systems down here. There's another Retired system that's about 24, 30 AU further up north, and we'll take that if we need to. But, yeah, it looks like I might not be able to avoid it. Oh, we don't have enough passenger cabins anyways. So, yeah, 10 AU and 20. Okay, so, oh, that's 12 AU. That's fine. So we're going to do just this little triangle for now. And as we start dropping off these missions, you'll see most of them have an option to either do it at the spice table like that or a public spectacle, which would give us more rep, but take a little bit longer. And even though we're doing this loop to get rep so that we can recruit higher level spies, it turns out that what you're mostly interested in is keeping your in-game time usage as low as possible, that using the spice plate option actually gets you more rep per in-game week than using the higher rep option, which will take a few extra days to turn in the mission. So there, Callaghan Fane gave us a few missions as well. Probably have to do this loop 1 or maybe 2 more times. Our goal here is to get our rep with Retired, our starting faction, up above 50, which is just hit now. But we also need to get our individual rep with our contacts high enough that they'll ideally recruit us level 12 recruits, which is, oh, we've just dinged. So now we're not going to bother going around anymore. Instead, we're going to remove one of our missiles and put on an officer cabin, because the Scout Cutter can hold 4 officers but only starts with 3 cabins. Now we're going to dismiss our starting officers. That's why we didn't bother upgrading them at all. We're just going to say, get out of here, Doctor, and get out of here, Quartermaster. Because they were only, level 3? And from our friend here, the Fixer, we can get some level 12 diplomats or scavengers straight into the ship, into those 3 empty cabins. Okay, we're going to level up the captain to level 5, which is perfect, because now we can get Espionage Sweep and Scouring Search, which are the two important spy talents that are going to let us manipulate the spy minigame. Now, there's scavengers. We don't really care about the scavenger job at all. Our scavengers are going to become spies as well, and then also doctors. Level 5 and level 5 will give us the spy talents from the spy, but also give us a doctor save and a life save, which is going to be essential for some of the bad cards that can be in the spy minigame. This is why we needed to get the recruits up to level 12, so that we could ignore that starting job, which takes 1 level, and still have at least 10 job levels available to assign to spy up to 5 and doctor up to 5. Yeah, we'll pick random saves for the rest of the talents. Once we've trained up all 3 of our new recruits, we're going to end up having 3 life saves from 3 doctors, and we're going to end up having 8 spy card minigame remove or replace effects. 2 on our captain, 2 on each of our officers. So having 8, usually 6 or 7 is sort of the minimum in order to be able to replace a card every single round in the minigame, which is really our goal here. We want to just burn through those as quickly as possible. And usually on any given minigame, there's only going to be 1 effect that's really bad. And we're going to be spying in our home quadrant, which is maybe the biggest trick for this unlock, is that you might be inclined to start off spying in the enemy quadrant, but in fact, spying in the home quadrant, when you do run into the military ships, they'll let you go. So you burn through some rep, because they don't like you spying here, but that's why we built our rep up in the first place. And then that means that we can not really worry about most of the ship encounters. With pirates, we can surrender to looting, we're not carrying anything anyways. With bounty hunters, we can submit to inspection. With merchants, we can just retreat. So we're really looking to replace a few classes of cards here. That right there, the 10 plus fuel and turns card, that's the one that we're most concerned about, because that is going to burn our in-game time. The other ones that we want to replace as often as we can are the 10 plus fuels and time, sorry I said, and then also the near death to crew and the varied results, because that one can actually end up burning a lot of time depending on what you roll. Other than that, I guess it's just the highest level damage to crew or components card that you see. I'm clicking through these pretty fast here, and sometimes I'll make a mistake, sometimes I won't see a card. The other one that I am going to be replacing as often as I can is the negative rep card, because our rep is a finite resource here. If it gets down to 0, we're going to have to stop and do some more missions, and we won't be able to do proving your charter missions, or we'll patrol. But regardless of which way we take to try and build our rep back up, we will be burning time that we don't have. 2 years is not that long. It's 2/12/03 is the date that we have to have completed this whole thing by. But as you can see, with the pool of talents that we've built up, we can just keep clicking every time. There's no need to conserve them. They are coming out of cooldown as quickly as we can use them. And most of these cards, first off, all the times we're getting positive benefits, things like money and intel. And even the negative cards, when we're removing the worst one each time, what's left is not that big of a threat to us. So we can just keep burning through it, only stopping to dock when we run out of fuel, as we have now. So our morale is falling down slowly, but in a moment we're going to have to dock up and refill, because if we keep trying to spy with no fuel for too long, then eventually our crew will start to mutiny, which will also throw a wrench in our plans. Okay, fuel's full up and just back at it. I haven't been keeping count here, but we've got to be up in the 30s by now. Yeah, so our rep has gone down slightly. We're building up a pretty good stack of intel. And even with the damage to crew and damage to component cards, we have a chance to get a skill save, which we seem to be getting fairly often. So, in fact, the accumulated negative effects of these red cards is sort of just like water off a duck's back when you are spying in your home quadrant, where you can dock up, where the military won't come after you. It just makes this so much easier. And we're going to do the same thing when it comes time to blockade. Okay, I think we're there now. Let's see. Master Spy 3 achieved on 2/11/01. All right, so now, step 2. Those crew that we recruited and trained up, time to get rid of them. All 3 of them. Now we're going to go to our fixer. No, actually, preferentially we're going to go to our mercenary, who has the zealots. Level 6 is fine, because with blockading, zealot is actually one of the jobs that we want. Now with spying, the only job that helps us really is spy, and we can't recruit spies from any starting contacts because that's what we're trying to unlock with this challenge. For our 3rd officer, we want to make sure we can still train a doctor, so we're going to sell some intel to this guy just to level him up, back up enough, because we've burned a bunch of rep with him before, so that we can get another level 12 scavenger who will become our zealot / doctor for the 1 life save. And our captain, we can also give 1 level of pirate there, which lets him get 1 useful blockade talent. And our new recruits are going to be 5 level zealot, 5 level doctor for the zealot doctor. And then for the other 2, it's going to be 5 level zealot, 1 level pirate, which will allow us to have 2 blockading talents on each of the regular crew, 1 blockading talent on our doctor crew, and 1 blockading talent on our captain. So in total, that'll be 6, which should be just barely enough, so we don't run out of those either. You can see the talents in question here are Fanatical Siege on the Zealot and Corsair's Eye on the Pirate. And then we'll take a couple of saves. Intimidate saves do come up in blockading, so that's a good way to spend the extra talent points that we don't have the urgent need specifically for a blockading talent. So here we are, Corsair's Eye, Fanatical Siege, Icy Stare. And we're good to go. And right here again, in the very same system, same thing. Basically all of the same cards that we wanted to avoid as we avoided before. Now this, unfortunately, the blockading will on average burn through our rep faster than spying does. So we might be seeing that we should have increased our rep a bit higher than 58 or whatever before we started, but I think we're going to be okay. And again, those 10 plus fuel and turns cards are so bad that it's worth leaving a -5 on because they all have the risk modifiers here, and the -10 fuels and turns is only listed as a -1 risk, but for us it's quite a bit worse than the -5 risk crew and component damage cards. So we're just I'm gonna put on some music because we're gonna just drill through these as fast as we can. that's that. Let's just check our awards and unlocks. And Orbital Terror 2 achieved on 211.35, 50 blockades. Starting Contact Blackheart unlocked. Retired Spy unlocked. We also hit Expert Contractor in there, I think. Faction Defender was not unlocked this run. That's 50 patrols. You can do that one on normal difficulty, which I recommend doing. And then you can just start up a game and just hit patrol 50 times, and that's it. But we've achieved the 2 unlocks we wanted to do today. That was 15 minutes of actual gameplay time. I feel pretty good about that. My next video like this is going to be focusing on salvaging, probably. And part of the reason I did this one first is because when it comes to salvaging, the salvaging unlocks, we are going to want that pirate recruit. So hopefully I do end up doing that, and hopefully you'll come back and check it out. Thank you.